Hey, hey, how's it going? We good? All right, hold on 1 second, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into this whole discussion. So today I'm probably gonna be wearing my glasses because I'm having a little bit of a headache. So let's go ahead and just get into this discussion. I'll wait a little bit to see if anybody else comes in, and then afterwards we're just gonna dive straight into this. So, hey, sub action bro. How's it going? So I'm just waiting a little bit to see who comes in the room, and then afterwards we're just basically gonna get into this. Also, real quick, let me know if you can hear me, cause my mic sometimes acts a little bit weird. So yeah, just let me know if you can hear me. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I can be heard. Cool. All right, let's go and jump into this. All right. So I actually wanted to discuss something that was really, and that's funny because I remember a couple of weeks ago I said I wasn't going to do any more Spider-Man videos related to No Way Home for a while, and I'm staying true to that. But at the same time, I still had a lot of stuff on my mind that I wanted to share with this because I'm just like I could see potential Spider-Man 4 stories going out. Now, when I heard about there being another trilogy when No Way Home, around the time before it came out, people were like, oh, there's going to be another trilogy. And it was confirmed. I was very apprehensive about it because at the time I didn't really enjoy Tom Holland's interpretation of the character so far. But that being said, the way No Way Home ended, I actually thoroughly enjoyed because Spider-Man is now officially on his own, and now we can finally get stories that are focused on him, but that are much more Spider-Man, if that makes sense. Because I didn't get the sense that he was really Spider-Man up until this point. He was really acting like in ways that Peter Parker would act, and to be quite honest, it's just it just really a lot of the stuff that they did with the character just you have to admit didn't really feel like Peter Parker. Like I understand a lot of people like this version, and that's fine. You can like this version, but at the time I didn't like it. That being said, No Way Home he's on his own. He's finally Spider-Man now. He's gone through the loss. He's gone through the things that shape every Spider-Man into Spider-Man, and now we can finally move into a trilogy where he's finally on his own. And now a lot of people want him to team up with another hero and all that. He doesn't need to do all that. He's done that far too many times, and if you're gonna do that, then it doesn't make any sense because you're not giving him his own solo film. So for Spider-Man 4, the story only feels natural because everybody now forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man now. So really, his enemies don't know who he is, but they still want to kill Spider-Man. Scorpion, I feel, should be the next villain in this new Spider-Man movie. And the reason why I say that is because at the end of Homecoming, they set up the character but really just did nothing with him up until this point. And I feel like having a Spider-Man and Scorpion film, solo film, this would really allow the time for, or really allow for the chance of Tom Holland Spider-Man to face a villain by himself, and also to face a villain as, well, the official Spider-Man now. So this really could go really well. And also, I think the direction that they should go into is kind of similar to Spider-Man 2, where he's having several things happen where, for example, he can't afford rent, he can't afford to do this, he can't be with certain people at the time because of his responsibilities as being Spider-Man. I feel like there's so many, or I think there's so many different things you could do with this and finally establish the world and establish New York City more as a presence as well. Because it felt kind of weird that with a character like Spider-Man, normally, like they have had things in comics where it's like, he's a menace and stuff like that. But they eventually came around. They came around, and they could really do that where they have the city come around him and they finally start supporting him a bit more and not being like hating him all the time. That could also be something that's really interesting. And talking more on the costume just looks so comic accurate that it's crazy to me to believe that we got a comic accurate looking Spider-Man suit that actually looks genuinely good. Not my favorite Spider-Man suit personally, but it's definitely a big step up from Tom's other suits. I thoroughly love this suit, and the fact that he made it himself, it's so Peter Parker. And there's something I've always wanted to see in a Spider-Man movie that they haven't done until this point, or that they could do, and that is they could actually have the costume get messed up, but you also see him stitching it up, and also at the same time, you see the stitching on the suit as he's trying to repair it. That would be a very dope concept because that would really show that this dude has very little money and he can't afford to always make his suit look professional, even when it comes to repairs. That would be amazing if they did that in Spider-Man 4. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing symbiote Spidey because of the end credit scene in No Way Home, but we really need to get a solo Spider-Man movie before we get to doing symbiote Spidey. So I'm excited at all the possibilities that we have. I think that he's gonna get the symbiote in Secret Wars. I mean, they will probably end up doing that so it's a little bit more comic accurate, and there are different ways they could go with that. I'm only talking about a Spider-Man 4, so I'm not going to discuss the stuff after that. But really, they could do a lot of this, and they could also have Peter finally work for the Daily Bugle, work for a boss that constantly berates him, degrades him, disrespects him, writes newsletters about him, tries to take photos of him in the shower and embarrass him to the world. Maybe not that far, but still, who knows? Like, there are so many different possibilities that they could do with Spider-Man 4 now that he's on his own. Like, it felt like the character wasn't allowed to breathe because they constantly needed to team him up with somebody else. Like, for example, they needed Iron Man. Next up, they needed, let's think about it again. They needed Nick Fury. Now they needed Doctor Strange. And they even had multiple heroes. This is a perfect opportunity to finally have him be his own thing. And this is exciting, especially with the character of Scorpion. Scorpion, I actually always had a soft spot for the character of Scorpion. I think that he's a very interesting character, unique concept, and I feel like doing a solo movie with him. Scorpion in the comics is more fascinating to me than the Vulture. Now, the way they did it with Michael Keaton, I will admit, even though I didn't like Spider-Man Homecoming, I did like Michael Keaton's Vulture. I thought he was a really good villain. But if you do Scorpion properly, I'm pretty sure he could be pretty awesome and pretty dope. So they could do so many different things with this. Like, they also could go in the direction of doing a PlayStation 4 Spider-Man where maybe he's not an adult, but he does design the tech like that himself. Maybe not as advanced, but maybe the lenses, he incorporates stuff in there all the time. He could upgrade his web shooters by doing different things. For example, fighting against maybe a villain, like maybe a new and improved Shocker, he could upgrade his web shooters so they don't get destroyed or something. Like, who knows? Like, this is Tom Holland's opportunity, or the studio's opportunity, to make this the absolute definitive Spider-Man. And if I were them, I would take the opportunity, slow down on the symbiote stuff, have Scorpion, and then maybe after Secret Wars, then do the symbiote stuff, or maybe do it for a final film. Who knows? But either way, that's my ideas for Spider-Man 4, I guess. I don't know. And also, what do you guys think about? Okay, what do you guys think about another home title? Because I cannot take another home title. There are so many home titles, and it's getting ridiculous. Even with No Way Home, I remember trying to release videos for that. I almost put Far From Home or Homecoming multiple times, and I was just like trying to look it up. All right, which home title is this? Oh, No Way Home. Like, we need to change up the home title as well. Maybe we could kind of change that up now and not overdo it. I don't know. That's just some random thoughts. But yeah, yeah, no more home titles. I'm good on that. Uh, yeah, but also on top of that, I'm going to be doing a Spectacular Spider-Man could be a good title as well. I agree with that. I also think that maybe they could do something. I'm trying to think of. They could even do something like. Nah, actually, no, because I was kind of thinking about it. There's already an Amazing Spider-Man. What am I thinking? Like, I keep forgetting that they already have Spider-Man movies called The Amazing Spider-Man. Sorry, I just said that. I'm just saying I forgot about that. They could also do something like maybe, I don't know, like Spider-Man Unlimited. They could do that. Also have some comic books down here, but I'm not trying to dig my shelf right now because I'm lazy. But yeah, they can change up the title, and another home title would feel that's Revenge of Scorpion. That one would be pretty okay. I think that one would be cool. Aren't wait isn't a scorpion an arachnid as well as a spider? So if they have it like that, they could do something like maybe something like Spider-Man Arachnophobia or something like that. Like that, I think that would be a pretty okay title as well. I don't know if that just sounds like something nerdy, but I mean, so is Peter Parker. So, anyways, like, and also with everything else that's happening with Toby and Andrew, it's going to be interesting to see what Sony does with those two people because Andrew, I'm almost guaranteeing, is probably going to be Morbius because they started doing reshoots, and this is like right after No Way Home. This is not. Come on now, this cannot be coincidence that they're doing this. And also, I did hear some rumors that Tobey Maguire may also be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I'll do a separate video talking about all the characters who are going to probably be in Multiverse of Madness, or I'm about 100% sure that they're going to be in there. But that's also an interesting fact that I kind of am curious to see. I don't know why we would do that. I mean, I could see why for fan service, but I mean, it just felt more meaningful when he was amongst other Spider-Men if they're gonna do that. So I I don't see why they would do it, but I mean, I'm cool seeing more Toby, but why would we do that again? Oh, and also something else I thought about. Now, how many of y'all think that Tom Holland Spider-Man should have something similar to what he had with Mary Jane in the Sam Raimi trilogy, where he avoids her, he wants to have her, but then he realizes he can't keep just doing that. Like, he can't keep trying to bring her into his life, but then he, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he could do like a Spider-Man 2 scenario where he's like, you know, I'm gonna do this, but then she tries to get closer to me. He's like, I can't do that. Like, that's something that would be very interesting for them to do with the character of, I guess, Michelle Jane or something like that. What was it, Michelle Jane Watson or Michelle Jones Watson? Was that the character's name? I'm like, yeah, and you could also like it said right there, you could dye MJ's hair red. I mean, that would also be a pretty cool concept to do right there as well. They could also probably, I don't know if they're gonna do the Osborns because they brought a different version, but they could do a Hobgoblin where maybe it's not from Oscorp, but they could do a Hobgoblin instead of a Green Goblin. And that would be a very interesting thing because they already have Ned in the MCU. And instead of setting him up as a sorcerer, which I think is bad, I mean, just personally my thoughts, but they could do like, Ned, becomes the Hobgoblin because they set it up in No Way Home where he says, I won't become a supervillain and kill you, Peter. But then I'm thinking to myself, but you're the Hobgoblin in the comics, so they could do that where they have Hobgoblin in the MCU instead of Green Goblin. So that would be also be a pretty cool concept to think about. And if I were to do a Hobgoblin, I would probably do that in the final film because that would probably be the most emotional thing. I mean, to be honest, and don't hate me for this, I hate Ned. I hate Ned. I really do. I hate the character. He really adds zero to nothing to these Spider-Man movies. And on top of that, I mean, I can't see this version of the character becoming the Hobgoblin, but they could change things to the point where he could become. What was that? Hold up. I want to see what that one says. Yeah, hold on. Let me see that. Yeah, no, he's the guy. Yeah, exactly. Apparently he's the guy in the chair. So I mean, like I said, that stuff bothered me because they never once showed that he could potentially become a threat in the future. So again, like I said, and that's also something that I feel like probably could be out of nowhere. But at the same time, I mean, if I were writing the story, I would probably just have it to the point where Ned becomes a Hobgoblin and he actually, stops being annoying and finally does something useful instead of portaling people with sudden magical abilities they apparently has that was not foreshadowed in any scene besides one line. I think magic runs in my family. Anyways, do you think they could also probably do, I don't know if they're gonna go in the direction of doing another, I guess, multiverse switch. Like I don't know if what they're, because it's so confusing what Marvel and Disney's doing, or not Marvel and Disney, Sony and Disney, because we have the Vulture in Morbius, but it's not a part of the MCU. It's a part of the Venomverse. So what's going on here? Like, and that we have the Oscorp Tower from the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, what's going on here? What's going on? So it's everything gonna get like mixed up, and things are gonna transfer to different places. Like I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their plans are. All I do know is that for Spider-Man 4, wait on the symbiote Spidey, and also incorporate Scorpion, and focus more on the challenges of a everyday man's life, like Spider-Man 2, with a superhero element to it. Yeah, it's probably Sony being Sony. Like, yeah, Sony loves to just tease stuff all the time. I don't get it, but yeah. So those are my thoughts on Spider-Man 4. If you guys have not watched this live stream, or if you have watched the live stream, make sure you guys comment down below and let me know what storylines would you guys like to see for Spider-Man 4. And if you guys say symbiote, then you're wrong. I'm messing around with you guys. You guys have a good one, and make sure you guys subscribe today to join the Isaiahization.